Welcome to Rotomaster. I'm Eric. Today, we're installing a turbocharger on a 2015 1.4 liter Chevy Cruze. We got the car on the hoist. Let's get to it. We're gonna take off the heat shield to start. There's 3 E10 bolts, 2 at the top and 1 down here at the bottom. I'm gonna use a 3.5-inch wobble extension to get out of that first one. I'm gonna take that 3-inch wobble off and we're gonna go straight at that last 2. Second one on the top. And then now the one at the bottom. And the heat shield's gonna come straight out with some wiggling. So now we're gonna remove all the intake tube. And there's 2 7mm hose clamps that have to come off. And the second is just down here. And then the whole tube should just wiggle off. So we're gonna remove the boost signal hose to the wastegate actuator. There's a hose clamp right here at the top. I'm gonna grab that with a pair of pliers, slide it down. I'm gonna give that hose a little wiggle just to break the seal. You should be able to use a flathead screwdriver to help pop that hose off. So now we're gonna get down here to this hose clamp, take off that signal line to the blow-off valve and wiggle it off. We're gonna give this a little wiggle just to break the seal, and then I'll use a flathead screwdriver to just help pop that off. Here's the electrical connection. We're gonna push this in and wiggle it off. Next is the PCV connection. We're gonna press down on the top and the bottom, and this is a bit of a pain. It will come off though. So we're gonna come down to the pressure tube down here. This is a 7mm hose clamp. And then we're gonna try to wiggle that hose off. We'll just push that out of the way. We come into the exhaust clamp V-band. We use a 13mm. And then we're just gonna open it up and slide it off to the side. So next we're gonna take off the bolt for the oil inlet. This is a banjo fitting. And then we're gonna come across to the other side of the oil line here, to the 10mm bolt. There might be a little bit of oil leak out of this, so make sure your catch can is below you. And you're just gonna give this a little bit of a wiggle and feed it out. So this is the coolant line here, and one of the reasons we're taking this turbo off. This coolant line is actually torn here, and it was leaking coolant. So we're gonna come in with a pair of pliers, move the hose clamp, and slide that hose right off. I'm gonna use an E10 on this one right here. So now that we got the car up on the hoist, we're underneath the front passenger side of the vehicle. You're gonna pull off this plastic here. There's 2 clips. This one's missing on this car. Just slide the tool up here, and this will work with a flathead screwdriver as well. Then there's 3 more screws here, 7mm back here, and 2 more up front. And this whole plate comes down. So now we're gonna come up to this nut on the bracket that supports the catalytic converter. It's gonna help us remove the exhaust later on. So this is the drain, and it comes down to here. And another reason why we're taking this turbo off. The drain line has completely detached and broken off, so this was leaking all out of the car. So we're gonna use an 8mm quarter drive socket to get up on this front one, and this one's nice and easy to get at. The one in the back is a bit trickier. There we go. Now normally, this piece is gonna be attached to the drain line, and there's a little clip here, so we can just pry that up a little, and then this whole thing will pop out and up. So we got one last nut up here on the catalytic converter. This is gonna be, again, to help us drop the exhaust off. So because we're taking this turbo out, we're gonna install a new one. We're gonna cheat a little and take this actuator out. So first we're gonna pop this E-clip off. Make sure you don't lose that E-clip, it doesn't fall into somewhere in the car. And then we're gonna use a little wobble extension from the 10mm, take off the 2 10mm nuts. This end of the actuator, give it a pull. This whole thing will come out. And now that we've got the wastegate out of the way, we can look in and we can see that coolant bolt right down here under the passenger side manifold. So I'm gonna come between the 2 air conditioning lines. I get a 17mm wobble on a 6mm extension. And then on my ratchet, I've got another 1-inch extension. I'm gonna come down, come onto my 6-inch extension. And we're gonna pull that off. And make sure you have your bucket underneath the coolant that drops down. The bottom bolt on the passenger side, holding the manifold, we're using a 10 mil ratcheting wrench to get at this one. I'm gonna hit the stud for the heat shield. We're gonna remove this. Now I'm gonna go underneath the manifold on the driver's side, and there is a bolt under here. The second one will go right in over top of where the oil inlet is on the turbo. Another one just above the intake plenum. I'm gonna reach under the turbo and support my tool to get onto that one. And now we can come up top. Okay, so now we're gonna remove the stainless steel bracket that's on here, and this will just wiggle out to the side. And now the whole turbo should just come out. Be careful of your AC lines. The turbo will just come straight up and out. We can move it over to the bench. We've got the old turbo out of the car. We haven't removed the Rotomaster turbo yet. We wanted to make sure that it stayed protected while we were removing this turbo. So let's get it out of the box now. And when you first open your box, there's going to be a pamphlet on top, and this is going to explain basic oiling, cooling, and installation instructions. We're going to remove the packaging, and we're going to have a gasket kit. This gasket kit's going to contain all your seals, as well as your exhaust gasket, your manifold gasket, and it's also going to have a syringe for oil application. Now we'll pull the turbo out. It's going to be protected in another bag. It's also going to be wrapped in an anti-corrosion paper, so it's not rusting. So we've got a brand new Rotomaster turbo here. We're not going to put it back in with old lines. So we've got brand new ones that we're going to install. We're going to use the old turbo to look at where the lines line up and follow that. So as we install, we're going to use a 17 mil wrench. And again, using the old turbo as an example to line those up, and we'll snug them up. Second line. 17 mil wrench again, and using the other turbo to get our line in place. So when we took the drain line out, we noticed it was broken. The next thing you'll have to do is look down here into the block and make sure there's no remaining drain line in that hole. And in this case, there actually is a bit of the drain line still there. And simply reach in and pull it out. Now that we have that broken piece out, we're going to remove the gaskets from the downpipe. You should just be able to pull that one off. And then we're going to remove the manifold gasket. That'll just slide right off. And we're going to do some general cleaning and start the turbo install. So we're going to install the drain line now. I've put a little bit of motor oil on these O-rings just to make putting it in easier. It's just going to come down in here, and you're going to push, and the clip will click into place. We're going to put the manifold gasket, brand new one, back on, and we're also going to put a new downpipe gasket on. And we're ready for turbo install. Next, we're going to install the stainless steel retainer, and this will just slide in, and you can wiggle it into place. And we'll get a couple of these manifold bolts started. The top four are going to be extremely easy to get at. The bottom ones are going to be a bit of a challenge. And we'll just lightly snug these up. This last one's going to be hard to get into with the actuator there. I'm just using 2 fingers, one underneath and one up on top, just to get this thing threaded. I should be able to get a 1/4 drive ratchet with a 10 mil. I'm just getting a 1/4 turn at a time. I'm using a 10 mil hex on a 4-inch extension on a ratchet to help guide the banjo fitting into the port. Once I have it lined up, I'll slowly start tightening it. Make sure the threads are engaging and tighten her down. Okay, so this first bolt is lined up. This is the easier of the two to get at. And once that's in and started, you can move to the back one and get the back one in. And we're gonna install the bracket nuts for the catalytic converter, the top and the bottom one. We're gonna reinstall the plastics underneath. And last, we're gonna add this last plug back in, and we grabbed a spare for the one that was missing originally. So before we install the oil supply line, we're gonna pre-lube the turbo. I've got a syringe here filled with motor oil, and I'm just gonna bring it to the top of the turbo, and I'm going to put oil into the inlet. It's gonna fill up very quickly, and it'll take a while for the turbo to accept this oil. We're gonna get through about 15 mils before we install that oil line. So the oil inlet line, we've got both of the seals on either side of the banjo bolt. We're just gonna come in and thread it in behind the turbo. And the right side is going to press in, and then we're going to grab a 10 mil hex, and we'll thread the banjo fitting into the turbo. The last bolt is the oil line bracket, 10 mil, comes just in here. The driver's side, just to support the oil line. Now we're gonna reach down and grab the pressure tube, line it up with the outlet of the turbo, and we're gonna pull it up on, and we're gonna use a 7 mil to tighten up that clamp. We're almost there. We're just gonna put on some lines, go for the blow-off valve first, and push it on. Use a pair of pliers to get at that clamp. Come back up to the electrical line, and that will click into place. And back up to the PCV valve, and that will also just push and click into place. So now we're gonna install the intake tube onto the air box and onto the turbo. We made sure that the intake tube was clean and clear so nothing can fall into the turbo. I'm gonna tighten the two 7 mil hose clamps. We're gonna install the studs for the heat shield. Use a 10 mil socket. We'll bring the heat shield down into place. I'm gonna thread all 3 of these by hand. And then we got this last bottom one. We're gonna switch over to the ratchet. And that is a turbo install. The install is done. I'm Eric with Rotomaster. We're gonna get an oil change and a coolant flush done, get this back on the road. Thanks for watching.